Today we're going to be going over 7 fall fragrances that I cannot wait to start wearing again. Really what spawned this whole idea was I woke up this morning and it was like 65 degrees out and windy. It felt like an early fall morning, and I gotta be honest, it was pretty nice. Things are going to continue to warm back up. Obviously we're just going to be getting into August, so it's going to be hot still for a little while longer, but hey, you know, if you're kind of getting the itch for some fall fragrances as well, and maybe you want to start adding some to your collection, if you want to, you know, continue to grow that side of things, here are 7 that I'm personally looking forward to that maybe you would be interested in as well. Not really much for new releases here, just because I'm kind of going after, you know, pre-existing fall fragrances that I've worn over the course of, you know, a few years or more for a lot of these. But I do believe, at least on the horizon, we have some more new fragrance releases coming up that look promising for the fall and winter season that I'll definitely be looking forward to wearing once those are available. Let's get things kicked off with Valentino Womo, just the original one here. This one has hazelnut, leather, chocolate, and some coffee. It's highly underrated, at least for me, because the spotlight is on Womo Intense for, you know, first off, but then just the entire Born in Roma lineup basically is becoming more and more popular as they're funneling more effort into growing that line. So pretty much all of the attention is off of the originator, you know, Valentino Womo. You just don't hear about this stuff, but this is what kicked off the entire lineup. And if you've smelled Womo Intense, this is similar. Now, no iris in this, like in Womo Intense. They both share leather. They do have similar characteristics. Again, the intense version is true to its name in that it is a more intense version than the original. But I find this original one to be a bit more gourmand and honestly, maybe even a little bit more wearable, even though it might not seem like it. Typically, your gourmand style fragrances sometimes can maybe be a little bit more you know, specific. You know, you want to wear it for certain times only, but this is still a designer level gourmand type. That coffee, that hazelnut, those notes are prevalent and smell great, but they're not overpowering in the way that it might make it a bit challenging to pull off. The nice thing too about Valentino Womo is that it's for a really reasonable price now on discounters, given that it's the oldest, of course, and it's been out the longest. I mean, the price at this point generally can sometimes be around $50 to $60, depending on where you're shopping and tester or not, etc. But the price is really reasonable, whereas Womo Intense, I mean, is kind of close to double that price sometimes. So very reasonably priced scent that's great for fall. Fall would be my go-to time to wear this one. This next one is Mansera Tonka Cola. So has Coca-Cola, which is kind of interesting. It's got cinnamon and Tonka bean, no surprise there. To me, this is kind of their take on a Rosja Creation E style. There are definitely some similarities. Now, I would not say that this is a clone of that Rosja fragrance. I wouldn't go that far with it. However, they are similar in the fact that this kind of has that bubbly, kind of fizzy texture, and even some of that warm, spicy sweetness that Enigma or Creation E has. Now, one of the differences is going to be that Enigma has more of a boozy take with this kind of rum accord going on along with it and some tobacco and stuff. That does not exist in Tonka Cola, so that's going to be one of the things that does separate them. But other than that, I would definitely say that they fit into a similar category. The other thing I would say is that Creation E Enigma smells more mature, a little bit more classy, whereas Tonka Cola, I find it to be a little bit more casual and maybe a little bit more wearable because of that fact. I think there are times where if you wore Creation E, you might kind of smell overdressed, to use that term. It would smell maybe a little bit out of place if you were going to some sort of casual type of thing, just because it does have such a premium smell. Maybe it would be a little bit more challenging to pull off in certain situations. The other main thing, of course, is the price. Creation E is expensive, depending on whether you get the Parfum Cologne or the Parfum. You're going to be a couple $100 either way. Tonka Cola, you can get a 120 ml bottle, usually for like 80 bucks or so, maybe sometimes less. This next one is Jean Paul Gaultier Le Male Elixir. Just the original Elixir. The Absolute version is great as well, but we're just going for this guy here. It has vanilla, has tonka bean, honey, and tobacco, which honey and tobacco, those notes work together really well, and that is it's proven yet again by this one here. It's a great combination. So it's still tying back to that original Le Male DNA a little bit here with the vanilla, and then even bits and pieces of like a lavender in here. There is the slightest amount of a bit of a freshness that's just, it's buried, but it's there, and that kind of again ties it back to the original, but the main thing is going to be that honey tobacco combination that really helps it to stand out. And ultimately what I find that it does is it gives it much more of a mature smell, whereas things like Ultra Male, you know, and some of the other flankers, whether you go fresher or sweeter, can have more of a playful smell. I find this is at least a step in the right direction of maybe appealing to a slightly older audience. It still is not perfect in the sense that it smells like a mature scent, because it does not. It is still very much kind of encompassing the idea of a youthful smelling scent, but not as much as some of the others. I mean, this compared to Ultra Male, they're basically polar opposites. At this point, you can get this one everywhere on discounters for just a touch over $100 for 125 ml. So just about par for the course, pretty standard. Great performance, very strong, long lasting, great projection. You're not going to go wrong with that. Fall, winter, perfect time to wear this. Let's go for something more affordable up next. We're talking $35 to $40 usually. It is Mustache Eau de Parfum by Rous. Has the vanilla, the pink pepper, the benzoin. Kind of smells a little bit like YSL Tuxedo, but with a twist. And I like the fact that it is a little bit different, because there are plenty of straight up YSL Tuxedo clones, Afnan, Tarathi Brown, and then Alhambra, the Tux, Fragrance World Suits, and just there's quite a few. And those are very accurate, basically as close as you can get to the original Tuxedo. This one has always been similar, and that's why this got so popular. That price point combined with the fact that it is similar to YSL Tuxedo, but again, with a twist. So the main difference is going to be it doesn't utilize the peppery patchouli aspect as much as Tuxedo, and that's what it is. It's spices and patchouli. That's kind of the star of the show with that one. This one focuses more on the vanilla and kind of sweeter, softer side of things. It does have that pink pepper, but it's not a black pepper, so it just isn't quite as punchy. So definitely a difference in that regard. And if you're somebody who has Tuxedo or one of the many clones, depending on your tolerance for it, maybe this is redundant, but for me, it's a bit of a twist. It's slightly more fresh as well. So some could argue that for them, it might be a little bit more wearable. You could maybe extend this one into, like, for example, early mid-spring and start wearing it like at the real end of summer, you know, just because of that freshness. So there's different ways you can go about it, but the price point combined with the performance and the quality are all great traits about this one. Great performer, so, you know, it's one that's going to last all day long. And I've talked about it so much because I think it's, for the money, one of the better purchases you can make for fall. Okay, we're going to change gears again and just go to something more expensive, but it's worth it to me. It is Herrera Iris Empire. This one has iris, leather, and chocolate. Man, it is such a great discovery because I got this on a complete whim. It was more or less, I saw it on discounters first, and I looked it up because I was kind of intrigued by, obviously, the name, and the bottle looked really cool. So I looked into it. Of course, it looked promising, and I said, you know what? It's, you know, a couple $100. It's not cheap, but I'm gonna go for it. What's the worst that can happen? I ended up not liking it, but I didn't think that that would be the case because I like everything about what's in the notes. And so I got it in and I was expecting to like it, which I did. I wasn't expecting to like it this much. It far exceeded my expectations. It's not simply just another iris fragrance like I was kind of expecting it to be. And the easiest way for me to describe this one is it kind of uses the leather from CH Men Privé and then kind of throws in the iris, the chocolate, basically the gourmand notes. That's what this smells like to me. And because of that, as a result, I almost get just the tiniest, slightest bit of this whiskey kind of hint, just a little bit of a boozy touch, the slightest amount. They don't list it, they don't talk about it, and I think that that's because the leather that they're using reminds me of CH Men Privé. It's a very similar type of leather accord, obviously from the same brand, and CH Men Privé used a pretty prominent whiskey note to go along with it. So it really does remind me of that, like CH Men Privé with just a sweeter gourmand twist, and I love it for that reason, because CH Men Privé is an absolute favorite fragrance of mine, and one of my regrets is not getting backup bottles. I think I only have one bottle, which is a major, major regret, because it's one of my favorite designer fragrances ever, but it's been discontinued for so long now. But I digress. Iris Empire, it's great. Fall is by far my favorite time of year for it. I'll wear it into wintertime, no problem, and it works great. It's a monstrous performer, so that's not the problem, but still is a bit fresh. And it just, again, it reminds me of the season of fall the most. And so definitely can't wait to start throwing this one on when the time comes. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it a lot. This one might be my most anticipated fall scent that I can't wait to wear. Let's go for a Prada Luna Rosa Black up next. Basically, it's tonka bean and amber. That's it. They give you like a floral note in here as well. But again, powdery tonka bean with a little bit of a sweet amber. And that is Prada Luna Rosa Black. It smells like a couple of different discontinued fragrances, Midnight in Paris and Bulgari Black. But again, this one is just one that you can actually buy right now. I love how this stuff smells because it is something different. As far as designer fragrances go, as far as men's fragrances go, they're not putting out stuff like this. It just is not your common type of smell. The price on this one has fluctuated a lot over the years. It started out kind of on the more affordable side of about $50, and then over the years it's gone up on discounters, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 even. And I don't know why, but now it's kind of starting to settle back down to a more reasonable range. Don't quote me on it, but just a touch under $100 again. So, because there was a point where it was going over that and kind of hard to find. Not so much the case anymore, readily available right now. All right, we're going to finish this video off with La Nuit de l'Homme. It is the Lelay Parfam version. This one has fruity notes, pepper, and lavender. It smells great. It's not at all what I would have hoped for out of a La Nuit de l'Homme flanker, whereas seeing Lelay Parfam, I'm thinking like OG La Nuit de l'Homme, but stronger and still really smelling like it. Not at all the case. Fruity notes with some pepper, vanilla and stuff, but it doesn't have that cardamom-rich spice at all. In fact, the spice is coming only from the pepper, and the cardamom is non-existent in this one. So a little bit confusing, and probably, I think I remember this, I think we all felt maybe a little bit misled, or maybe more so just let down when this one did come out, because as much as we hoped for it to be a resurrection of the OG La Nuit de l'Homme, or just a stronger version of the pre-existing La Nuit de l'Homme, it wasn't even close. However, years have gone by, and that expectation has long passed, and when you enjoy the scent for what it is really pleasant, and I do enjoy it, mostly because I find it to be more of an everyday use, daytime use type of La Nuit de l'Homme flanker, whereas the original I find it to be mostly an exclusive evening out type of scent. So probably more wearing opportunities for La Nuit de l'Homme Lelay Parfam in fall is my #1 choice. Truthfully, this doesn't have quite the performance for me for wintertime. Just doesn't hold up as well. But fall, you've got kind of the cooler, and then it gets warmer and then cooler again. This can kind of hold up to that better. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for me. 7 fall fragrances I can't wait to start wearing. as we approach fall here pretty quickly. I'm going to link everything down below. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.